I was nervous of sleeping in. I kept once the sun came up, I kept waking up, and I'm like, oh, I'm tired, but I'm getting up for this.
Oh yeah, for real, for real. Yeah, same here. I was just chilling in bed and I'm just like, podcast, podcast. Waking up and I'm just like, oh yeah, podcast. Okay, yeah, I gotta get up and get breakfast and do my stuff. Got something to do this morning. Yeah.
Let me just make sure I got the. I want the definition of Swift up on my screen
Yes,
just
yes,
in case
yes.
it goes that way.
Yeah.
The Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications and Parasitic Endeavors.
I see, I see. Mr. Vaughnsworth.
Mr. Vaughn.
Welcome to the first episode of Bits of Truth, a podcast discussing things Bitcoin with our own little bits of truth incorporated here and there. This episode is brought to you by Trozzi and I myself, Austin McLaren. So, Rain, would you like to introduce yourself to the viewers a little bit? Tell them a bit about yourself.
Oh, sure. Well, I'm Trozzi. I'm 21 years old. In terms of the human being, or just the being, I really value sovereignty and freedom. And in terms of the human doing, I'm the founder of Over to the Youth, which is a worldwide youth activism organization. And I'm also actively involved in the Trozzi team at drtrozzi.org. How about yourself, Austin?
Nice. And yeah, we'll definitely put some links in the description to Rain's website there. But my name's Austin McLaren. I have a passion towards video production, fitness, and philosophy. And during my free time, I try to find interesting ways to fuse them, by making fitness videos, philosophy videos, that kind of stuff. My goals are to hopefully turn my creative endeavors into a lifestyle and, incorporate a little bit of Bitcoin in there, for example. My page has donations that I accept crypto in and, hopefully, yeah, just incorporate all my interests into a lifestyle.
That's really interesting. You have a certain interest in Bitcoin. I'm just curious, how did you gravitate towards that? What's your Bitcoin origin story?
The Bitcoin origin story. So, yeah, this started about 4 years ago. I was 16 years old, and like most ambitious teenagers, you go scouring the web looking for neat little tips and tricks and ways to make money. And unfortunately, this story isn't all rose and sunshine. I got into the drop shipping fad, tried to make some money there. Unfortunately, it was a complete bust. Although, that did not crush my ambition. And one fateful morning, my father wakes me up and he says, "Hey, son, have you heard of this interesting online money called Bitcoin? Right now is a pretty good time to buy." And, I talked to my buddy about it. He was into stock trading and investments and all that kind of stuff. And he said, "You know what? Seems like a pretty good idea." So we both gave my dad some cash. He gave us Bitcoin in return. And, lo and behold, we got in at a pretty decent time. So the price was going up. And for a 16-year-old, you put in a few $100 and then you see it go up like a couple $100 and you're like, my goodness, like we're going to be rich and all this. So, that kind of held me in the Bitcoin space for a little bit, just seeing the dollars go up. But, after being in it for a bit and the dollar stopped going up so rapidly and you're kind of just left in this space wondering, it started to develop more into an interest than solely about money. And, to be in the space consistently for 4 years, seeing it go up and down, left, right, sideways, twist and turny all over the place, you gotta kind of believe in it to keep holding when you see Bitcoin go down like a couple 100%. But yeah, it started off like most people, a way to make money, and slowly evolved into something more, into a genuine interest in the community and the philosophy behind it.
Wow, it's such a journey.
Thank you, thank you. Yeah, could you tell me a little bit, or could you tell the viewers a bit about your origin story?
Oh, sure. So I suppose the first time that I ever heard about Bitcoin, well, I actually stumbled upon it as a as a young teenager. I was up to some mischief, and I was just out of curiosity, browsing around on the dark web, place I shouldn't have been looking for sure, but nonetheless, I was surprised to see just how cheap all of these contraband items were. You know, oh, zero point 0.5 Bitcoin for this, zero point 0.2 Bitcoin for that, and it shocked me as a little kid when I ran the conversion and I realized that this fraction of one Bitcoin was worth, hundreds of dollars at the time, and so I figured, I was like, oh, I'm a little more curious. I want to download a wallet, and I started trying to figure it out, but my little mind couldn't wrap around it, and I gave up when I was downloading a full node onto my little Windows 8 laptop. Um, and it just kind of, landed on the shelf for quite a few years until I was um, a little older than you were when you came across Bitcoin. I was about 18, and for the same reasons, I was interested in trading
Mm-hmm,
cryptocurrencies
mm-hmm.
for money. Um, and that was going great. I have to admit, like, just playing around with it, I was having a great time with it.
Oh yeah.
Um, but being someone that really just values freedom and sovereignty, and also freedom of privacy. Like, privacy is really important to me. And the places and the wrong places, I was on the wrong places. I was playing around with Bitcoin on Coinbase,
Ooh.
which is a KYC major exchange. And anyway, Coinbase wanted so much information from me, and I kind of had this reflective process when I realized, like, yeah, I've been playing around with this cryptocurrency thing and I've been having a great time, but I had to give them, you know, bank statements, government issued ID. I had to scan my face. I had to set up
Give him a sample of
peer
blood.
to, oh yeah, like retina scan, swab my butt.
All that, yeah.
um, and for me, that, like, I woke up one morning and I was just like, no, I don't like cryptocurrency. If this is what cryptocurrency is, I want out. And I sold my small portfolio and I carried on my way. And it wasn't until a few years later, just about 7 months ago, um, that I met somebody, a new friend, and he explained to me that I'd had it all wrong before. Like, truly, I didn't know really the fundamentals of what Bitcoin was. I didn't know how it worked. I didn't know what a node was or a miner was, or how it's all kept secure and anonymous, and why you should never go onto a computer, or why you should never go onto an exchange like Coinbase and buy KYC Bitcoin.
Mm.
And when the penny dropped that Bitcoin wasn't this hyper um, invasive technology, and it clicked back to, why the heck were people buying things in Bitcoin on the black market? Um, I realized that, well, Bitcoin's actually anonymous freedom money, and that resonated with who I am as a person, which is a freedom loving person, and it was really, like, that just sparked a fire of passion for it, and I started thinking of, how can I use this and apply it in my own life, and how can I help Bitcoin?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that's very interesting. The transition from just solely a monetary gain perspective, you're going on Coinbase and you're just trading and not really aware of the underlying purpose and philosophy behind it, to, then selling it, but then a friend coming to your aid and basically telling you, hey man, look, like this is what it's really about, and that like reignites that flame and gets you really interested into it. That's really interesting. Would you say that is what draws you to Bitcoin as opposed to other cryptos, just the philosophy and the freedom and the whole decentralization behind it?
Um, well, I think Bitcoin had the perfect inception. It
Mm.
was the
Mm-hmm.
first cryptocurrency. It was built perfectly for security and simplicity. Um, and there's no central inventor or body that's profiting from it. And it's built to last. It's algorithmically set up to increase in value over time. With the halvings, which I'm sure that's a big topic for people that don't know what that is. But essentially, every 4 years, the miners get rewarded half as much Bitcoin. So that increases the demand by decreasing the supply,
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
it's reverse incremental. So um, Bitcoin, it's like the complete opposite of our fiat monetary system right now, which only prints whenever the powers that be want more artificial wealth to purchase real wealth from the people with.
Yeah, money printer go burr.
Yeah, money printer go burr. How about yourself? Do you see more value in Bitcoin versus other cryptocurrencies?
Um, More value. Do I see more value in Bitcoin than other cryptocurrencies? Um, f- just the originality aspect of it, just because it was the first one, I believe gives it a substantial foothold over the other ones because you can't beat the original, right? It's the OG. Um, but since it's the original, it's tried, it's true, it's tested, and I think that does carry weight, you know. And for example, when I'm looking at cryptocurrencies or when I was looking at them, of course I'd seen Ethereum, I'd seen Litecoin, and all these other ones, but the one that really stuck out was the original, the first one, Bitcoin. And that's where I ended up putting my money, and that's where I continue to put my value in is Bitcoin, just solely because it's tried, it's true, and it's the original.
Yeah, and you only have to look at the price tag to see the difference in how much the world values Bitcoin over the other cryptocurrencies.
Oh yeah, definitely. The market cap's like what, 400 billion something,
Yeah.
compared to, I wonder what the second place one is. Search that up.
Well, how do you use Bitcoin?
Oh, how do I use Bitcoin? Um,
Do you
well,
do you like do you purchase it on like Coinbase, or do you go through a peer-to-peer exchange?
um, so when I first started to get into Bitcoin, I wasn't of age, so I had to buy through people I knew. So at first I'd, go through my father, and so technically, like, I wasn't KYCing anything. They wouldn't know who I was. I was just giving cash for Bitcoin. So that's how I first began purchasing and using it. But actually, luckily enough, um, I have a Bitcoin ATM near my place. Local Bitcoin
Really?
ATM. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Just in the
Oh,
convenience
that's
store
so
there.
cool.
Yeah, so I buy
For
through
real.
there. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow. And like if you want to sell and then just get a little bit of fiat to go into the store with, you could do that.
Uh, I haven't tried selling. I don't know if you can. That would be awesome. But so far, I just buy through it, and that seems to have been working. It works great. Um, I have to admit, on occasion, I do use a centralized exchange if I want to, because I set up DCA, dollar cost average. So I do use a centralized exchange just for that aspect of it, and I keep it there. I don't mix it with my other wallets. I have my private wallets, and then I have, my DCA wallet. So not completely out of the matrix yet, but I have my private stash, and then I have the centralized one. Kind of like it's just there. It does its thing. It works. But kind of how I've used it is just mainly, to store, to accumulate, and accrue wealth because personally I believe Bitcoin's going to be going up or else I wouldn't be putting my fiat into it. And not only do I use it as like a store of value, I actually have used it to transact for goods. For example, I have a little story. Um, my buddy and or my buddies were planning on having a fun night out, so we got to get some liquor. So my buddy goes to the liquor store, picks up some liquor. I asked for something light, $15 Mickey, nothing too expensive. And at the time, he was into crypto and stuff, so I made a proposal. I'm like, "Hey, bud, I'll give you $15 in Bitcoin for that Mickey of liquor." And after some pondering, going back and forth, he eventually agreed. So I traded him uh, $15, the $15 equivalent at the time in Bitcoin for that liquor. And years later, that is the most expensive Mickey of liquor I have bought, which is now over $60. So he made a good flip on that. I'm sure he appreciates it. I'm sure he's glad.
Uh, well, I think that's so cool, having uh, Bitcoin as this digital liquidable medium of exchange, but then having that ability to just move it into a physical commodity. Like, I mean, one could say bullion, one can say food, one could say property, or in this case, liquor, which is a great commodity.
Oh yeah, exactly. Especially if everything collapses, liquor will be a great thing to have. People will be storing their wealth in Bitcoin, liquor, bullets, and beans, as they say.
Oh yeah. And it's interesting, because like I mean, providing that you didn't drink the liquor, which I imagine over the years you probably had drunk that bottle, but um, well, it say if that liquor bottle you still have it to this day, well, it's still worth what it was when you bought it. Maybe a little more because alcohol matures over time, but really, like you came off of the crypto atmosphere, off of the Bitcoin environment, and into the physical environment. And
Mm-hmm.
to me, that represents such a good symbiosis between the two worlds. I really think that we need technology serving the physical realm rather than the physical realm serving the digital realm.
Oh, definitely,
And I
definitely.
and I think there's huge potential for Bitcoin so long as that we keep that in our values.
Yeah, yeah. And during that time, just to add a little bit of more powder to the saying, um, yeah, I was really into just, trading my Bitcoin for physical things. For example, a girl I was with at the time, we'd like to go out to Subway a lot. And um, sometimes she would buy the subs and I would offer to pay for it in crypto. I'd be like, you go and pick up the subs and I'll exchange your time and the amount the subs were worth in crypto. And she was down. She was like, yeah, that's really cool. I'll go out and, pick it up and you can pay for it through me with crypto. So, yeah. And then I felt like I was buying Subway with cryptocurrency. I felt like I was trading in my cryptocurrency for a couple of subs and a nice time.
Oh, and not only that, but you're also helping her convert her fiat into Bitcoin.
Oh yeah, yeah, exactly. That was also a big motivator there. Just trying to introduce the people around me into like the crypto space in this really odd but cool way. They would light up. They'd be like, "You know what? Yeah, that's interesting. I'm getting paid in this foreign currency to go out and do something and I feel like I'm getting what I want, like for example, the sub through cryptocurrency. So yeah, it's a mutual benefiting thing, and it was really a good thing. It was fun.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you, thank you. Um, yeah.
Well,
So, oh
I
yeah,
use Bitcoin too. Um, I feel like in principle it's all very similar. Um, but I suppose starting with how I buy it, I do buy it with fiat, but I go to a peer-to-peer exchange called HodlHodl.com.
Mm.
Um, and it's, in my opinion, probably more convenient than buying from the major exchanges. It's a lot easier to set up on there. And it's actually really safe because it works with escrow transactions, which is essentially there's three keys to the transaction and it requires two to unlock it. So it works out really good, I find. Uh, I've had 100% positive experiences on that website, and you're buying it straight from your fellow man, right, or your fellow woman, um, because they get it straight from the miner, or they're the miner themselves. They're not going to any centralized institution and having huge monopoly gains in that one corporation. This is just, in my opinion, how Bitcoin was meant to be, is, by the people for the people.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, and so I purchased it from there, and then I keep it on a self-custodial wallet, meaning that I hold the keys to move my Bitcoin on the blockchain. And I go with Electrum because you can, and I'm not sure how advanced this security feature is, because ultimately, if at any point you get snagged with KYC and it contaminates your wallet, even if you're using um, different addresses and they're all tied to the same Electrum wallet, it's probably not as anonymous as we'd like to tell ourselves. But I do like the feature that can, create burner addresses that all end up in the same wallet. And I'm not sure how that works. It's something I'll learn more about. But that's kind of the fundamentals of how I go about using Bitcoin. And I've done tutorials on those two major things, from purchasing it and setting up the correct type of wallet, um, on over to the youth.com. Uh,
Down in the
but in
description below.
terms of, down in the description below, but in terms of how I use it, well, I've used it to hire my friends as freelancers who, live across the Atlantic Ocean from me. But
Mm.
we're able to transact in minutes, and it's perfect because what we do is we pin the price to silver when we're making the agreement, and we know, okay, we literally for thousands of years have measured value in silver and gold. A silver coin, in my opinion, is always worth 1 ounce of silver. It's not worth a certain amount of dollars or a certain amount of pounds. Its value is true.
Mm. Mhm.
Um, and so we pin the price in silver ounces, and then when the deal is finished, would pay that amount. And on the day of payment, we run the conversion from the ounces to the Bitcoin, and then I send the Bitcoin.
Interesting.
Um,
Interesting.
yeah, and I think that's important to think about with the volatility of Bitcoin. And I think that it's important to be thinking of value in terms of bullion, not only during Bitcoin volatility, but the extreme money printing we're seeing and the extreme hyperinflation we're going through.
Yeah, yeah, no, that's interesting. That instead of pegging it to the dollar or even gold, you actually peg it to silver. So your mind is completely out of the whole fiat realm. It's just not there. It's I value my Bitcoin in silver. I value my silver in Bitcoin. It's not I'm valuing my Bitcoin compared to dollars or dollars to Bitcoin. It's completely out of that, which is definitely a mindset switch. But I think that's the one that we gotta make. You know.
Oh yeah, but I think that in the long run, we're gonna see satoshis or bitcoins, not just as a not just as a commodity, but actually the mathematical measurement for value. I think that the future of Bitcoin will
Mm,
be so stable,
mm.
that we'll actually be able to use it as a mathematical metric.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
right
yeah.
now, we're in the early phases, and it's fight or die for Bitcoin. Um, and we are experiencing the volatility because the velocity hasn't increased enough yet to ensure stability. But we're
Mm.
heading there.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, soon. Sooner than later. Hopefully, we'll be pricing homes to Bitcoin.
Yeah, or to bullion and then using the Bitcoin as the medium of exchange.
Yeah,
I'd be really happy to see either.
yeah, yeah.
I like the idea of pricing things in bullion because it respects the sanctity of technology serving the physical world rather than the physical world serving the digital world.
Ah, yes, yeah.
Austin, Bitcoin's come a long way in the last 13 years. Um, but the last Bitcoin is going to be mined in the year 2140.
Mm,
So the range of this project is enormous, and who knows, it might continue past then. Maybe as the new galactic exchange when we're interplanetary. But looking long range, but not too long range. Where do you see Bitcoin in the next 5 years? Where do you see prices? Where do you see adoption? I'd be really curious for your opinion.
yeah, Bitcoin in 5 years. So, um, I believe in something called the 210,000 block theory. And basically, what that is for the viewers is every 210,000 blocks, roughly 4 years, is a halvening. And the idea behind that is that the price of Bitcoin, let's say now, 210,000 blocks later, will be higher than what it is now. So in 5 years, a bit after 4 years, I definitely expect Bitcoin to be over 22,000, which is, I believe, what it's hovering around right now. But that's a very modest prediction. Um, I'm gonna have to say 5 years, at least 100,000. It's a nice number. Um, we've been close. We've been relatively close, and I could see the community, the people, like really striving to hit that mark. $100,000. I could see it 5 years. And for adoption, you know, might be a little optimistic in this prediction, but I'd love to be able to go to my local taco truck and purchase some tacos in Bitcoin. 5 years, we got to make it happen. I think it's possible with the right circumstances. I think that could happen. How about you,
Well, I'd
Rain?
like to be. First off, I'd like to be right there with you when we're purchasing our first taco with Bitcoin.
Oh, that'll be the
I think
day.
that'd be a great day.
That would be the day.
Um, well, our next halving is in 2024, approximately, at the rate Bitcoin's being mined. So I think if Bitcoin survives the next few years, I could see a 10x in price. However, what are we comparing that to? Because I
Yeah,
mean, we
yeah,
talk
yeah.
$100,000, but I mean,
Yeah.
I doubt at the rate the Feds are going, we're going to be able to buy a loaf of bread for $100,000. I think that if people stay on the fiat train, man, you're going to need a wheelbarrow of cash to buy a carrot or something.
And you know how many carrots it'll
Um,
take to buy a Bitcoin, so
I guess it all depends on how hungry we are.
yeah, yeah.
Um, but yes, I see the price increasing, providing the world begins to value freedom, autonomy, sovereignty, privacy, like never before. And I think that we're going through such a dark spell of centralized control that it's waking people up to the fact that these central banks, these governments, um, these these institutions that have dictated to us for the last 2 years how we can live our lives, what we have to put into our bodies. Well and truly, they offer nothing to us. They produce nothing. They're solely parasitic,
Mm.
and I think that mankind is getting fed up with the evil monkey on our backs, and we're going to get rid of them. And I think that Bitcoin is really going to be essential in in ensuring our sovereignty. The specific way I see Bitcoin implementing at a larger scale is as a replacement to the SWIFT system. Um, And yeah, hopefully, as people realize that more and more goods and services are accepting Bitcoin, and that you could actually very easily purchase commodities like silver and gold with Bitcoin at a 4% discount. Maybe we should put that site in the description, goldsilver.com.
Yeah. Okay.
Um,
Yeah. Oh yeah,
I think that,
just to stop you there, Rain, I was thinking, if you could describe to the viewers quickly, because I didn't know this until literally last night when you told me this. Could you just describe to the viewers what the Swift system is and how Bitcoin kind of overthrows that or makes it invalid?
okay, well, I'm actually on I'm on the internet here, and SWIFT stands for the Society for Worldwide Interbank Financial Telecommunications, i.e., SWIFT. Um, it is a Belgian cooperative society providing services related to the execution of financial transactions and payments between banks worldwide. So basically, what it is it's a middleman if you ever want to send money from a Canadian bank to an English bank or a Canadian bank to a Latin American bank
Mm-hmm.
or any such. And this SWIFT system, it uses the dollar as the medium of exchange. We might wonder, how is it that the US dollar is worth anything when they're a consumer society, they're a debt-based economy?
Swift.
Uh, they they don't produce anything. What they've done is they've used their military advantage to bully the world into, for one, only being able to buy or sell oil in the U.S. dollar. That's why we call it the petrodollar. And if they don't, they're at risk of invasion.
Mm.
And then also they have this very parasitic SWIFT system, which
Basically
man, it's like
forces
clip.
people to like use the US dollar and have to go through a middleman. Pretty much what it sounds
Yeah,
like.
yeah, essentially. Back in the times with the Romans, what the government tried to do, or what they did do, because they wanted to basically create more wealth out of nothing to fuel their war machines, was when travelers and people would come into the temples, they'd take a pair of big metal scissors and they'd clip their coins. So they'd clip their silver, gold, copper coins,
Hmm.
literally cutting a piece of their coin off, and then melting the clippings into more coins. Um,
Brutal. Brutal.
but can you imagine that? Like, when say I wanted to send you a piece of gold.
Yeah.
Can you imagine, like, the person bringing it to you just cuts off, a portion of that coin and then hands it to you and says, "Oh, there you go.
Oh
There you go,
man.
buddy."
Man, I'd be furious.
Um, well, yeah, it's ridiculous. And for what? Um, when you look at the mining fees of Bitcoin to do the very same thing, to transfer wealth internationally, actually in a fraction of the time and far more securely, um, it costs penny on the dollar. Or I'm tempted to stop using that phrase. It costs almost nothing,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
very little. And that's just to pay the essentially the node, which is doing the transaction for you, and it's all automatic and anonymous.
Mm.
Um, and there's no Federal Reserve, whilst putting us all under these oppressive measures with taxation, SWIFT systems, worldwide like military bullying and bombing Middle Eastern nations. Um,
Yeah, yeah. And to I guess to compare the Swift system to Bitcoin, it'd be like handing your gold coin to be taken across Europe on a horse and buggy compared to after they've clipped your coin compared to, it just being teleported from the Americas to China. No clippings involved.
yeah, it's just the better technology. Swift is outdated, and not only that, uh, the current president of the USA, Joe Biden, I don't know how he's functioning in office, and his approval rate is below 30%. So something's wrong.
Mm.
But in all his wisdom, and I say that sarcastically, he decided to cut Russia, a major exporter of oil, off of the SWIFT system. So the USA essentially shot themselves in the foot when they did that because Russia just said, fine, okay, world, we're not going to sell our oil to you in the US dollar anymore. We will only accept, get this, we will only accept the ruble. Ruble's shooting up in price for this reason. We will only accept gold and silver,
Hmm.
and we will only accept Bitcoin.
Ooh, interesting.
So he will take ruble, bullion, or Bitcoin,
That
and
goes to
they're
show.
developing new trade alliances elsewhere.
Yeah, that goes to show kind of how far Bitcoin's come. It's now in Russia on the tier of the ruble and bullion. It's right up there.
Yeah, it's huge.
Yeah, that's
So
nuts.
I really see with the way the world's going, I see a necessity for us to adopt Bitcoin as an international means of exchange, because we could respect national sovereignty. Nations could still have their own currencies, but we can move money very efficiently between nations using Bitcoin. And should nations continue to follow the greedy and rather self-destructive practice of not having a gold standard currency, and so every 50 years their currency inevitably hyperinflates. Well, Bitcoin offers a safe haven for people to get off of their hyperinflating currency, and okay, just we'll operate on the Bitcoin or environment. Maybe at the local level we've accumulated some bullion, and I think that's going to force governments in the future to get their act together and stop printing money like crazy and actually treat it like a serious thing and not just a game of Monopoly.
Yeah, yeah. No, that's a great take. Definitely like on the same boat. You know, five, however many years. People are gonna have to um start using this cryptocurrency as a method of exchange because you never know what's gonna happen. With people's bank accounts getting frozen, not being able to send their money to their families in other countries, they're gonna have to look for other means. And of course, bullion is great in its own sense, but when it comes to like international monetary exchange, you gotta, I think Bitcoin's really up there. It's really great for that. And like you said, fraction of the price, penny on the dollar, you can get your money anywhere. Yeah, thank you all for tuning into the first episode of Bits of Truth, hosted by Rain and Austin. If you'd like to keep up with either one of us, I'll link any extra details down in the description. Rain's over to the youth website. My YouTube channel will be down there. Are there any extra words you'd like to add in?
I'd just like to thank all the viewers that tuned in this long. Thanks for investing your time into watching this show, and we're super excited to plow ahead. And as we ourselves explore the Bitcoin world and the technology, just really excited to kind of stop in here with you, Austin, and we chat about it, and we kind of document that experience of growth.
Yeah, yeah. Share our ideas, with each other and with the viewers, and kind of grow, um, and share that growth with the people. Yeah. I enjoyed making this podcast, and yeah, until next time, guys. Peace.
So, peace.
Sweet.